Hey, good morning, guys, and thanks for watching Fox 5 Live. I'm Nevola here in Washington, D.C. We are going to get right to the happenings of the day, the live events and breaking news here in the district, and of course, anything that comes in our feeds to bring you news during this midday lunch hour. We're going to be on 11 to 2 or so, maybe 2:30, to catch a couple big breaking events today at the White House, including Sean Spicer, who is speaking at noon. But first, I'm going to bring you, it's right away, it's just happening right now, just a couple minutes past 11, over to the MPD, Washington Police Department. The Assistant Chief, Diane Groomes, is announcing her retirement today, and also a realignment of the patrol, the structure of DC Police. So jumping over right now to the chief, we're going to go right in here. We have our reporter, Bob Barnard, who is there as well. He'll be covering this later this evening. So now over to DC MPD.
Diane has accepted a position to be the Director of Security and Public Safety at the DC Wharf, which is the district's largest waterfront development. I'm obviously very sad to be losing a trusted and valuable colleague whom I've had the opportunity and pleasure of working with for almost 3 decades. On the other hand, I'm very excited for her and happy for her to be facing this challenge in her life. I think we can safely say that Diane has earned her retirement. And deserves it. Her retirement will be effective on April 29th, 2017. She's been with the force since 1990. Her accomplishments are too numerous to list, but I will mention some. She served in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts and in the Criminal Investigations Division. Most recently, she's been the Assistant Chief of the Patrol Services and School Safety Bureau, a position she's had for almost 10 years. She doesn't look like she's been here for almost 30 years, but
I'll pay you later.
She spearheaded the creation of the sector concept. She developed and expanded a number of innovative patrol strategies, including the Full Stride program. She was instrumental in the creation and evolution of the MPD listservs. She executed and ensured the safe passage of our children to and from school every single day for the last almost 10 years. She hosted the DC Fashion Idol program, which I know was one of her favorites. And Diane was ever present at every single community meeting that we had in this city. And when I say every single one, I don't think she missed one. Her energy was remarkable. In my estimation, Diane is the epitome of a public servant. She has dedicated her career and her life to this job. And I think it's safe to say that all district police officials somehow would like to be more like Assistant Chief Diane Groomes. Can we give her one more round of applause? So Diane, heartfelt congratulations to you on this new role in your life. And so now we have to fill the void that is going to be left by Diane's departure. And so what we will be doing is we will be realigning the Patrol Services Bureau. We will have what is called Patrol Services North, which will include the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts, and Patrol Services South, which will serve the 1st, 6th, and 7th districts. This change will take effect on April 23rd. Each patrol services area or bureau will be led by a patrol chief who will ensure a seamless transition and provide executive command leadership for MPD's patrol operations to better serve residents and meet community needs. This organizational realignment will enhance district accountability and provide the Chief of Police with additional visibility and insight into MPD's patrol activities and services. In line with this realignment, I'm happy to announce new roles for 2 of our currently serving Assistant Chiefs. Assistant Chief Lamar Green will be promoted to be the Patrol Chief of the Patrol Services North Bureau. Can you give Lamar a round of applause? Assistant Chief Lamar Green has recently served as our Assistant Chief of the Homeland Security and previously served as the District Commander for the 5th District, with which he is very familiar. And then for Patrol Services Bureau South, we will be promoting Assistant Chief Robert Conti, and we can give him a round of applause. And Robert recently served as our Assistant Chief for the Professional Development Bureau and was formerly a commander in the 1st and the 6th Districts. So both Assistant Chiefs Green and Conti have extensive experience in patrol as well as in intelligence, special operations, and internal roles throughout the police department. They are both, more importantly, highly regarded by the community here in Washington, D.C., and I have every faith in their ability to take over in Diane's absence. Also, as part of this realignment, MPD's School Safety Bureau will move under the Investigative Services Bureau and report directly to the ISB Assistant Chief. This transition will help facilitate MPD's youth services and investigations, as well as more effectively align the department's outreach and support efforts for children and families throughout the city. The MPD website will feature a map that includes the new Patrol Services Bureau boundaries. In preparation for these organizational changes, MPD will be hosting 2 community meetings to introduce the Patrol Services new chiefs and further describe these changes. We invite all community members to attend these events and provide feedback of how the department can better serve them. The Patrol Services South community meeting will be held on Monday, April 24th at 7 p.m. at the ARC, which is at 1901 Mississippi Avenue Southeast. And the Patrol Services North community meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 25th at 7 p.m. at the Frank D. Reeves Center of Municipal Affairs in the 2000 block of 14th Street Northwest. I am going to ask the city administrator to come up and say a few words, and then Assistant Chief Groomes will say a few words. Sir.
Thank you, Chief Newsham, and good morning, everyone. I couldn't forego the opportunity to just come and congratulate and recognize Chief Groomes and also Chief Green and Chief Conti on their new responsibilities. First, let me say thank you, Assistant Chief Groomes, for your long-standing commitment to the District of Columbia. I believe that we've got a responsibility to leave things a little better than when we found them, to be compassionate about our work and to be giving of ourselves, and you've met the mark in each case. From your dance moves with the youngest and hippest crowds, to your leadership in the patrol division, the street crimes unit, and ascending the ranks of leadership, Chief Groomes has presented herself as a force for good, and as a community, we've embraced her in that capacity. Chief, I speak on behalf of Mayor Bowser and the Deputy Mayor and the Bowser administration and residents all across the district when I say thank you for your service. We wish you the best in your next adventure, and we'll come find you on the wharf in the waterfront. But know that you'll be truly missed. And I want to thank Chief Newsham for recognizing this moment of transition as an opportunity to look closely at MPD and how it's organized, and how it's operating, and identify opportunities to refine and improve service delivery. The reorganization of the Patrol Services Division and the transition of school security to Youth and Family Division underscores our commitment to transparency and accountability and provides the chief with greater insight into the operations of both divisions. Together, we're working to build a safer, stronger DC, and these changes in patrol are a part of that process. So again, Chief, thank you for your service and your work. I've had the chance to know and work with Chief Green and talk with Chief Conti, and I know that they will stand strong in the gap and continue to make this the best police agency in the country. So congratulations to both of you, to all of you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And this is a surreal moment, and one, I know it's unbelievable, might be at a loss of words, but as first of all, I want to say thank you, of course, to Mayor Bowser, our deputy mayor, and our city administrator, who have led the city and made it a better place, and have always been so supportive of my efforts and making sure our city is safe. And to Chief Newsham, It's been a long time. He has been a mentor, a great leader, and the department is in a good place and in good hands. So I'm so proud of what the department means and will be. When I look out in the room, I see my tireless, beautiful, passionate, dedicated commanders. And a lot of you, even in other commands, I had such an opportunity to work with you all. You get the job done. That's why I feel comfortable. I don't feel scared leaving. I know the department in this city is in great hands. You all believe in the community, you believe in the city, you believe in public safety. All of you give your life and your time to the residents, and give up even your own time, on behalf of everybody here. I could not have asked for a better career. How blessed I am. I've come from Pittsburgh, which at the time I thought it was a big city. Little did I know it's very small, very small. And to come down here and to be part of the best police department in the nation. In 1990, it was definitely a different department, but guess what? I loved it. We had fun, didn't we? For those of us that came on then, we had fun. And we made a difference, and that's why I'm proud of the men and women, our chief who came from those classes as well. We made it, and we're just going to keep pushing and make it even better. So to the community, thank you. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for welcoming me, and you made the city safer by your efforts. There's many people in this room I would love to thank, and Dr. Anderson and some of my special people along the way that I was officers with that are now leaders on the department and good friends. So we have such talent. And again, this department is just going to keep getting better and better. And the city is a wonderful city. And I'm happy to join the Wharf, the waterfront team. I'm looking forward to that. And Commander Kane, I know we'll be working together, and Jeff Carroll, and Chief. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity and trying something different and doing the best that I can do. And I will miss all of you, but I think it's not goodbye. It will be see you later. So thank you all.
So I think it's safe to say that it won't be the safest waterfront in the city, but probably the safest waterfront in the entire world. So we can take any questions that you all have.
About the whole, both subjects, her retirement and the realignment?
Whatever you want to ask, sure.
How did you decide on where to draw the line? You had 3 rocks, 3 districts, you changed it to 2. Why 2 instead of 3? And again, a little more detail, please, Chief, on what you hope to achieve.
Well, when Chief Lanier was here in 2007, we went from 3 rocks to 1 patrol services district. So we had 3 assistant chiefs prior to Chief Lanier. And then in 2007, when Chief Lanier realigned the police department, she put all of the patrol districts under 1 bureau, which was Diane's bureau. So now we're splitting that bureau in half. And the way that we looked at the division is we looked at workload, and it's pretty close. It runs about 44 to 55% with reported crimes in each of the two. And we didn't want to change any of the district boundaries without at least first discussing that with the community. And we don't really see a need because the division of labor was close enough. It's almost 50-50. So I think that was a logical place to draw the boundary.
If I could, sir, what is the impact on the daily officer hours?
They won't really see much other than their district commanders will be reporting to a different assistant chief. And then I believe that the assistant chiefs that we have chosen, like I said, they're very highly regarded. They already have a leg up in these communities because they served as district commanders in these communities. And so I think that it'll give the community more direct access to their assistant chief. Like I said earlier, Diane was a pretty amazing person. and she was able to get to a lot of these community events. And I think splitting her job into two will give our community more access to their assistant chiefs, which I think will be, at the end of the day, better for the police department.
Just jumping in here, guys, to our viewers, if you're just joining us, you are watching live. Chief Peter Newsham from the MPD here. They're speaking to the media about a very recently announced retirement from Assistant Chief Diane Groomes, who just spoke earlier. If you saw her, she was saying, see you later, not goodbye. She is going to the Wharf, which is, if you guys are local or from around here, you know there's a big project looming down in Southwest DC near the waterfront. Tons of shops, restaurants, infrastructure, condos going up in that area called the Wharf. It's a big project. She will be the director of public safety and security there. So she'll still be around, but she was announcing her retirement from this position, which she held for 10 years. And before that in law enforcement for a number of years, 25 or 27 years in law enforcement. So we're seeing now Chief Peter Newsham speak about this to the media. We're going to leave it here for a few more questions and then jump into some other topics. Thanks so much for joining us, guys, on Fox 5 Live.
For you, Chief, Groomes. When did you sleep? I mean,
Marcus could tell you. 5 a.m. to 7. No, I was blessed. The day of Sunday usually was the day of rest. So, I am a night owl. So I didn't mind the late nights, but again, a lot of the burden was met by my commanders and the officers that do the hard work. So I had great helping hands.
You put in a day, because I would see you at night, I'd see you in the day. Tell us, I'm just curious.
24.
We've been asking that too.
Yeah. I can't even count the hours because it went so fast. So probably 12 or more a day. So yeah.
You slept 12 hours a day?
Yeah.
Chief, may I ask a question, Chief Groomes?
Yes.
Will you be living at the Wharf?
You don't have to. I'll answer that for her.
She hasn't solidified her arrangements yet, so you can have that conversation with her after the meeting, probably. Anyone else?
We're going to have one more.
Can I just say briefly, too, we have representatives from our CAC here. These are folks that have supported the Metropolitan Police Department from day one. Thank you all for coming. And also, I see the head of our D.C. Police Union
Yes, ma'am.
hiding in the back. Thanks for coming. It just shows that our D.C. Police Union had a very good relationship with Assistant Chief Groomes for him to show up on her behalf. I think that was important. So. Go ahead, Tom.
Chief, you're going to face the confirmation of the council in early May that you're expected to pretty much get close to unanimous. A few votes may be against you. But you will be the police chief as Mayor Bowser runs for re-election. How will you handle your job as police chief knowing that your boss is also running for re-election? Will this help or hurt this realignment?
The fact that the mayor will be running for re-election will have absolutely no impact on how I approach the job. I have told everybody since September 15th that I'm standing up here and seated in front of you. That's what we're all trying to accomplish, is to eliminate violent crime here in Washington, D.C. You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, thank you all for coming. This is an important announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So a little bit of a celebration there, and we'll take you out of this feed because we don't have it any longer. So over back to our newsroom, guys. I'm Molly Nevola. Thanks for joining us on Fox 5 Live. We're here in Washington. You can see the newsroom behind me, this little digital room that we're bringing you live events and happenings all over the city, all over the country as they happen. So everything you're watching is going to be live in raw feeds. But I do want to bring you to another story. Speaking of the Southwest waterfront area, check these pictures out. We had the story up yesterday. We were reporting on it a little more. These pictures are from an apartment building in the Southwest area near Nats Stadium. So if you guys are familiar, if you attend a lot of Nationals games, these are signs on people's personal balconies on an apartment building, banners that are now being told must come down after the neighbors have had a political feud of sorts, a little political rivalry, obviously, between neighbors. There's a sign, you can see the Trump signs and then the sign below it. but those are being told they must come down now. Our reporter Lindsay Watts had this story yesterday about the rivalry between the neighbors. This is Camden South Capitol Apartments, just across from Nationals Park. Check out this other picture. We're going to scroll through a few here. Just another view of that same apartment, little wider shot, and then a big shot here of other signs. Obviously, there's some sports signs, there's some Nationals fans, there's some politically engaged signs. Resist, obviously, is one of them. Trump, I guess the nope sign isn't up in that particular shot. But this story was interesting. It generated a lot of comments. Big talker yesterday because the apartment actually issued this notice to their residents that there are certain violations, having a grill on the balcony, things hanging off the balcony, that includes these banners and flags, pets on the balcony, smoking on the balcony. So they have these rules set in place, and that became obviously more in the forefront, more of an issue when these political rivalry type signs went up. So this was a story getting the attention of some Washington residents and, of course, some Nats fans and Nationals game attendees who saw these signs. Bringing it back now into our newsroom, I want to also jump over to a big talker yesterday, and that was the live capturing or eventual suicide of the Facebook killer. Now, we brought that to you live on the show. We got the breaking news. We jumped right over to Cleveland. But now there was a statement yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught it, but I'm going to replay it for you from Pennsylvania police about this whole situation, what exactly happened, what went down, how police sort of engaged in their pit maneuver, as they call it, to eventually maneuver on this suspect, and then eventually he killed himself, which was not their intended results. They were speaking about how their number one goal was to protect other citizens around, obviously schools, children, anyone around this suspect when he was found, and their second goal was to bring him in safely. That was not accomplished, unfortunately, but we have a little bit of a video from Pennsylvania police from yesterday. I'm going to show that to you right here.
Pull the gun out and shoot himself. I can't speak for the others, sir, but at least the one trooper did.
So they knew they didn't have to draw their own weapons as they approached, or?
Again, sir, it happened so fast. I don't want to speak. I don't know if they did or not. My guess is they probably did not. However, if they did see him pull his gun and shoot himself, you don't know for sure what the outcome of that was. Personally, if they did draw their weapon, they're certainly entitled to do that. I just don't know that.
And was it a shot to the head?
Again, I think it's safe to say there was a shot to the head. Yes.
Sir, would you like to tell the community of Cleveland and area PA what do you want them to learn from this incident?
Could you repeat that question, sir?
Would you like to tell the people of Cleveland area PA what do you like them to learn from this incident?
The only thing I would like the people from Cleveland, Ohio to know is, we are right across the border from Cleveland, Ohio. But as far as law enforcement concerned is, we work as a family. They gave us information, we help them, we share their information. They need to know, just because if somebody commits a crime in Cleveland and Ohio or anywhere else, and they come to another state, we're certainly not going to tolerate it. We're going to do everything we can to solve that case, just if it happened the same way in PA.
Sir, just to be clear, earlier you said that you want to comment on the ping. Police chief said that there was a ping on Sunday. But what I heard you say, the reason you have stepped up patrol, stepped up investigation here, you say you have believed that you're the gambler in the area.
Sure. What I'm saying is, we have no firsthand knowledge of a ping. We, meaning whether BCI or Troop E, we did not do a ping. There's a lot of things out there on social media that weren't confirmed. But as far as a ping, we have no firsthand knowledge.
But you were on alert because you were the gambler.
Well, it was all over. We were on alert because we watched the news, we talked to Cleveland, it was all over the place. Let's face it, that's a heinous act to shoot a 74-year-old man walking on the street on Easter. That grabs your attention. And, what we do, too, is to bring closure to victims like that. And again, that was just a terrible, terrible crime. And so as far as what I said, I do, ping, we have no direct knowledge. But as far as the gambling and all that, social media, information we did get from Cleveland, that all corroborated that.
Sir, one of the next big questions here is, where was he in that 48 hours? Obviously, you can't answer that at this point. But using your expertise, how difficult would it be to get that car from Cleveland to here with no one spotting it? How would you go about doing that? A lot of people are saying, how do you get from Cleveland to here with nobody seeing you? What would you say to them?
A lot of luck, to be honest with you. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in, but there are back roads, travel at nighttime. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'm certainly not going to educate future criminals out there, but it happens. It does.
Some people in your room, this is only stop.
I will say this, ma'am. Right now, we're not aware of any.
Sir, Cleveland PD reported receiving almost 100 or rather 400 tips over the past 48, 72 hours or so since this incident happened. As it got out to the media, are you able to quantify the number of tips that PSP has received in addition to that?
I don't have direct knowledge, Captain. I'm not sure if you're aware of how many. But
I do not have.
Yeah, we were. No, it's a fresh incident. We're getting tips. It was more important for us to make sure they were signed and followed up on. I don't have a number for you right now, but like I said, every station in Troop E received tips.
How long do you believe he was in the area?
I don't know. Today, at least for today.
So you could say at least overnight.
That'd be an assumption on my part. I don't know. Unless someone else has some information.
Direct knowledge of how long he was in the city.
I don't know.
What time did the call come in today?
11:10.
When the body is removed from the scene, will it be moved to the Erie County morgue or will it be returned to Cleveland?
We'll go to the autopsy's tomorrow morning here. Sorry about that. Thank you. Good catch. Thanks. Any other questions?
One last. I understand you spoke to your officers under your command, spoke to the individual who works at McDonald's. Can you talk at all about their demeanor? I think there's a lot of interest in this concerned citizen who really, albeit a small act, it's a huge act, a courageous act. Can you talk at all about their demeanor or how they described Mr. Stevens when he was right in front of them?
You're talking about
the McDonald's employee, this concerned citizen. What did they describe Stevens as, and how would you describe them after?
I believe my response was a concerned citizen on Buffalo Road in Harp Creek Township. I don't think I've ever said McDonald's.
No, but the person that was the concerned citizen, it's our understanding that you've spoken to them.
I have not.
But no one in your under command has spoken to them either? Okay.
Hey, TOC, it's Molly.
Any other questions from anybody else from our panel?
Spelling?
My name?
Yes, sir.
It's Tepper. It's Tepper. It's Junior. Major. And I'm the Area 1 Commander.
I have one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
With the role of the news media in this, we were struggling to sort out whether to be warning our community that this man has been here. There was a ping. I mean, when agencies like Associated Press or supposedly New York State Police put out that, yes, there was a ping, the man is in Erie, but you're telling us here at the Lawrence Park Barracks, we don't have that information.
I'm telling you what we knew, ma'am. And again, as far as you notifying the public, I think the media did a great job notifying the public. Again, because of the close proximity to Cleveland, the fact that he was a gambler, we have a casino here in our area. It's not rocket science. So I think the media did a great job notifying the public. Makes our job easier, and probably the result we had today was because of the coverage of it. Certain citizens sees him, recognizes not only him but the car, and that's why we're here today. So it's the best I could. Anybody else? Listen, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Major. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, so a little bit of an update from yesterday that was about 19 hours ago or so. That was Pennsylvania police explaining how they found the Facebook killer, Steve Stevens, 37-year-old, who shot himself in his car. Just some more minor details about where he was found, how that all went down. So I wanted to bring you that press conference from yesterday because it was a big talker, obviously a big event. I do have a little bit of breaking news for you guys just to tell you if you're still engaged. I want to thank you guys for watching Fox 5 Live here in Washington. We have a little breaking news in D.C. Apparently, we're hearing from D.C. Fire and EMS that 14 people and a park ranger are stuck in an elevator in the Jefferson Memorial. We have a photographer headed down there shortly. I'm going to see if I can effort some more information for you guys as I have it. But for now, just take a little shot, a live look at the White House. That's the outside of the White House today. A little cloudy today, not the most beautiful day out, but later we have Sean Spicer coming up in an earlier than usual White House press briefing at about noon. We're going to see if he comes out on time today and see if he has any other information to give us, some relevant information. We know the New England Patriots, the champions, are headed to the White House lawn for a little celebration with President Trump later this afternoon. Quarterback Tom Brady recently posting a public statement just about an hour ago or two that he will not be attending today due to some family and personal issues. So we don't know, some questions surrounding that, but the White House definitely full of some cool live events today. So anyway, just going to get some more information for you on that elevator entrapment in at the Jefferson Memorial here in Washington. For now, we're going to jump it over to a story that is also getting a lot of heat, a lot of just talk. The family, we had this on our morning show earlier. I'm going to pop back in here. The family that has been posting controversial pranks involving their children on YouTube. Now, we had a whole sort of, Annie Yu was on this morning on our morning show, and the family has since come out to apologize and say, you know, we deeply apologize for your feelings on this. We do not condone child abuse, even though many family and friends are sort of concerned. This is in Montgomery County, so a local family that is taping these videos. I'm going to bring you over to one of their videos that they posted. We took it on our website publicly, and it's called Blocking All the Haters. So jumping over to that now.
DO5. Okay, so I normally don't do this kind of thing, but I'm getting all kinds of hate right now on all my social medias and on one of my videos called the Invisible Ink Prank. And a lot of people are really pissed off about this video because we're yelling and the kids are crying and everything like that. And apparently it's upsetting a lot of people. This video, I mean,
It's just a prank, bro.
Pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, well, a lot of people apparently don't get it. A lot of people don't see the humor in it. Can I have your attention for a minute, please?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you guys remember the Invisible Ink prank?
Yeah.
Yeah. The prank was done on Alex and Cody.
It was supposed to be on Cody, but I said something. You guys got us good, and it dragged on to me. And
was anybody traumatized?
No. Well, I don't even know what that word means. But yes, no, I was, Mom. Yes. I was. No, I wasn't.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you upset?
No. No.
It's just a prank.
It's just a prank.
Do you guys prank us?
Yeah. Sometimes I remember I pranked Mom where I broke my leg.
What else have you guys done to us? You
the
guys
bugs. Yeah, the bugs.
The airsoft gun.
Without YouTube, we pranked Mom with a whole bunch of bugs. And we did the airsoft gun in the butt.
The airsoft gun? That's parent abuse.
Come over here, Ryan. You're all the way over there.
Parent abuse.
People are saying a lot of really mean things about us, guys, because we're such terrible parents to you because we pranked you.
No.
Yeah, so basically right now...
You cry when you prank, so what?
What?
You cry when you get pranked.
Sometimes.
Okay, so basically though, guys, a lot of people think that I'm a child abuser and that I'm mentally and physically, emotionally, and all that abusing you guys.
He locks us in a cage and forces us to do
that.
Really, Ryan?
We don't have like 3 games.
We don't have anything. We don't have any Xboxes. We only have
limited to
bed.
one meal a
That's
day,
all
2
we have.
crackers with a water.
We only have Xboxes.
We have drums.
Xbox
You guys get the point, right? I mean, seriously.
No, you know what's sad is a lot of people probably don't get the point that they're screwing around right now.
I honestly think some fans are kind of over-exaggerating.
It's not the fans, it's haters.
No, it's not fans, it's haters. There's people out there,
They're
right?
just jealous. Whatever they are.
If the haters are not, if they don't like us, get off this channel.
There you go, Emma.
Exactly. Exactly.
If they don't like our channel, why do they watch us and give us more views?
Yeah, all they do.
Why do they take all the time to comment?
Well, and people think that we need to save Cody, and Cody is treated very badly, and we abuse him.
People need to save us need to toss Cody out and save us. Leave him alone.
Really, Ryan?
Yes. Stop picking on
And
him.
Cody, are you happy?
There's no reason why I shouldn't be.
Okay. Are you abused?
Yes, I am. No.
Really? Are you abused?
No.
Okay. Are any of you abused?
Does everyone have fun doing
Yes.
YouTube?
I'm downstairs playing my game. Without you, how am I going to be going to Disney?
Exactly.
I wouldn't be having that giant stuffed animal up there.
Exactly. Now,
I want to have my game.
We wouldn't have this candy.
Now, seriously, on a real note, to all you haters, you are the ones that give our children drama.
Look,
exactly.
You are the one that cause us problems. You are the one that try to embarrass us and embarrass them.
You are the one that's ruined our life.
Okay, Emma, that's a little too far. Bro.
it's not a little too far. These people are saying a lot of mean things.
It's not a little too far. It's right.
Cause problems. And just for the record, we don't share most of these comments with our children
No.
because they're too harsh.
No. You know, it's really bad when I gotta jump on the Twitter and jump on the Facebook and stuff like that and the Instagram and delete stuff before the kids read them. Because there are some heartless ass people out there posting a lot of messed up things.
And they put a lot into this YouTube channel.
Exactly.
They put a lot into it and they're proud of the stuff that they do on it and that we do.
We were the ones that wanted to have.
We have at least 365
You have no idea how many videos because it's been 1 year.
It hasn't been in here yet. His numbers are way off there.
We have like 200.
But the bottom line is you guys like it and you're proud of it. And then you've got people who are haters who twist everything up 6 weeks from Sunday, make some fake ass shit. And by the way, I don't get Medicaid food stamps or any of that, and probably paying more taxes than you do.
We don't even approve for that kind of
Jesus.
thing. I mean, but people.
I wish I got some Medicaid.
I wish we got some food stamps and stuff like that. We'd be pretty good. But I mean, basically, guys. I mean, this is how we run our house. This is our family. This is our family. Nobody's going to approve of every single person's family.
And you can't judge our family.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Fist bump. Boom.
We are a family that likes to joke around. We prank each other. We give each other hell constantly. Constantly.
And they hear worse curse words on music
Exactly.
and TV.
Exactly. I mean, really, there's a song on the radio of all the little kids with all the kids. How's it goes?
Something about kids being shot
with
up.
the pumped up shoes. Better run, better run.
Oh, I love that Run the Gun.
Why would you love that song? It's terrible.
Yeah, well, you can't like that song. You might offend somebody. But anyways.
Everybody in this world's so fucking offended.
Yeah.
And I said fuck it.
Everyone's offended. Everyone has their opinion and all that stuff. Guys, if they don't like the channel, what should they do?
Get off.
Don't watch it.
Get off the channel. Don't take the time to judge this family. Don't take the time to leave a really rude comment.
And that's coming from Cody. Poor Cody.
Yeah.
And I don't even get to see their comments, but still don't.
Exactly.
If
And
you
the
guys
kids.
don't let us read the comments.
All right, so basically, all right, let me get this out there too. Now, I do respect that the fact that people would care so much if children are being abused, that they would go to such a great measure to help those kids. But honestly, guys, you're looking in the wrong place.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to be 100% real with you. We've been investigated already for the YouTube channel. Nothing was found. Because there's nothing to find.
No.
So, you're wasting your time.
Cases
and our
was
time.
dropped,
And
everything.
embarrassing our children.
Yes, it does. You're embarrassing our children. You're embarrassing our family. I mean, you're causing more harm than good. You're looking in the wrong place for child abusers. You really are. I mean, this is a YouTube channel. I mean, really?
This is a family channel.
Exactly. It's a family channel. We're pranking each other. We're giving each other hell. That's what family does.
Look, other people do the same thing, but you don't go go to their channel and do the same.
Yeah, didn't Roman Atwood do a prank where he pranked his girlfriend and he dropped the baby and killed it or something?
Yeah, but he pranked his girlfriend, not the kids. Just because we're pranking the kids, we're terrible. So the kids prank us. We just can't always post the pranks they do because they don't record it good enough.
Exactly. Shake the camera like this and stuff like that.
But Roman Atwood did do a prank with his chill, like the
They put fake spiders in my bed.
Parent
Yeah,
abuse.
I'm saving up my
Hashtag parent abuse.
It's just our family. We're just having a good time. Yes, the kids get a little upset sometimes and they cry and stuff like that.
And they always say whether or not they're okay with the video being posted.
Exactly. Now listen here, stop. If you don't want something in a video, what do?
With that one video at the camping site, Dad said, "Do you want that video up?" And I said, "Yeah, it'll get a lot of views." And what happened? It got a lot of views.
Exactly.
The sunlight video, yeah, it got a lot of views.
Exactly.
People are picking on me though.
Just a little taste of this apology, this family apology video. Apparently, these parents are saying they've received death threats even about this. You can see there's a lot of different views on this whole story. Some people want to believe it, some people don't. Some people think they were acting. Some people want to believe that these children are honestly okay and they're trying to back up their dad here. It's a really interesting story and definitely a big talker for social media. We had a lot of comments on both sides. I don't know what you guys think or what you thought about if you saw some of their videos, which was on that their public YouTube channel, their site. It can go either way. I think it can be compelling. I think other people on the other side are just as valid. So with that, I'm going to roll out of this actually and bring you over to a playback of President Trump in the White House. He was there just briefly earlier, signing the Veteran Program Extension and Improvement Act in the Roosevelt Room. Take a look at this.
With a vote of 100 to nothing. That's shocking, right? 100 to nothing, Rick. You wouldn't get 100 to nothing. We met earlier today in the Oval Office, and Secretary Shulkin updated me on the massive and chronic challenge he inherited at the VA, but also the great progress that he is making. He's got a group of people that are phenomenal at the VA. It's one of my most important things. I've been telling all of our friends at speeches and rallies for 2 years about the VA, how we're going to turn it around, and we're doing that. And actually, next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a news conference with David and some others to tell you about all of the tremendous things that are happening at the VA and what we've done in terms of progress and achievement. The veterans have poured out their sweat and blood and tears for this country for so long, and it's time that they're recognized, and it's time that we now take care of them and take care of them properly. That's why I'm pleased today to sign into law the Veterans Choice Program Improvement Act. So this is called the Choice Program Improvement Act. Speaks for itself. This bill will extend and improve the Veterans Choice Program so that more veterans can see the doctor of their choice. You got it? The doctor of their choice. And don't have to wait and travel long distances for VA care. Some people have to travel 5 hours, 8 hours, and they'll have to do it on a weekly basis, and even worse than that. It's not going to happen anymore. This new law is a good start, but there is still much work to do. We will fight each and every day to deliver the long-awaited reforms our veterans deserve and to protect those who have so courageously protected each and every one of us. So we've made a lot of strides for the veterans. These are like the most incredible people we have in our country as far as I'm concerned, and they have not been taken care of properly. I want to thank David. You've done an incredible job, and you're going to see some of that on Thursday. So thank you all very much, and we're going to sign this, and I think I'm going to have to give this pen. The way I look at it, we should probably give it to Phil. What do you think? Does everybody agree? I think Phil is. I know Phil agrees. So congratulations, everybody. Really fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. Phil, maybe you could say a few words if you'd like.
Well, Mr. President, thank you very much. And this was a very, very important bill to get started with so we can get Choice 2.0 to get to the place exactly where the President said he wanted to be. And it's a privilege to work with all of these great people up here to help make the VA better. I spent last week on the break going to Los Angeles and Phoenix to get a firsthand view of what's going on. And what we want to do is put the veteran in charge of these choices, not the bureaucracy. And I think Dr. Shulkin is just the person to see that happen. Mr. President, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic. And David, where's David?
Yeah, I'm right behind you, Mr. President.
Why don't you go ahead? I won't look back. You just
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody here as well and thank Congress for seeing this done and Mr. President for you signing this. This is a good day for veterans. This is a great day to celebrate not only what veterans have contributed to the country, but how we're making for them. And by working together, we're going to continue this progress. I think as the President said, we're actually going to do this a week from Thursday, Mr. President, and talk about the tremendous accomplishments, but most importantly, about the great things that are going to come to fulfill the President's commitments that he made to veterans. And so thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job. So again, next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock, may change a little bit, but about that time, we're going to have a conference to talk about the progress and the achievement. I'd like to ask Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, who's done a fantastic job as governor, by the way, and really understands this subject and really understands a lot of subjects. Rick, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Well, I was really proud. My father was in the 82nd Airborne. He did all the combat jumps, and I grew up listening to the stories about the war. I had the opportunity to serve in the Navy. Unfortunately, in 2014, I had to sue the VA because we had our state healthcare agency couldn't go inspect their hospitals when we heard all the stories about deaths, delays, poor conditions. And so, Mr. President, and I want to thank Congress for doing this to create certainty of care while we figure out how to fix the VA system. And David, I want to thank you for what you're doing. You've got absolutely the right background to do this. I know President Trump has been focused on our veterans and our military before he was president, and I know he's going to continue to do a great job. We have 1.5 million veterans. I want them all to move to Florida, of course. But thank you for doing this, Mr. President.
Thank you. Most importantly, thank you. Thank all of the great veterans. Would you like to say something? You have all of these people out there.
Sure.
You'll become a movie star tomorrow. You look so good.
Well, a nation will be judged by how it treats its veterans, and the future of our country will rely on generations. Right now they're children, but they're going to be our future service members, and so we have to treat veterans well. It's about national security. It's about patriotism, and this is a great step forward in doing that.
Thank you very much. Nobody can say it better than that, so we're going to end. But I want to just thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Right now live, former Vice President Joe Biden is on hand in Philadelphia at the Museum of the American Revolution. They're hosting a grand opening today. Super exciting. I'm trying to bring you there. Unfortunately, my video is starting right now. It will not work, but I want to get you to former Vice President Joe Biden. Always funny, always a talker. We are going to jump into another area where we have short of
Yeah. Those
Thank you.
Thanks for having Good morning. We're honored to join and be joined today by some absolutely tremendous people and great veterans.
All right, guys, this is just another replay, a playback of this signing. President Trump saying veterans are the most important part of this country, blatantly going out and saying that in front of this array of veterans here. We are going to go over next to the White House. I'm going to give you a quick shot of the outside of the White House. There it is today. And soon, very soon, we're going to be jumping inside for Sean Spicer's remarks at the White House press briefing a little early today, I believe possibly because the New England Patriots are coming down to speak with President Trump, and there's a whole kind of fanfare on the South White House lawn this afternoon, or possibly they just moved it up for another reason. We usually have our reporter, Ronica Cleary, there at the briefing today, but I don't believe that is the case today. We're going to let you guys listen in to see what Sean Spicer says at the top of that briefing. If he has any important remarks on, of course, happenings of the day. Aaron Hernandez found an apparent suicide in his jail cell, hanging by a bedsheet this morning. Obviously, some traumatic news this morning surrounding that, football, and New England Patriots in general. Interesting day to have that happen. We'll be right back with that in a moment. Going to bring you back inside the White House for this playback of President Trump inside.
It's one of my most important things. I've been telling all of our friends at speeches and rallies for 2 years about the VA, how we're going to turn it around, and we're doing that. And actually, next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a news conference with David and some others to tell you about all of the tremendous things that are happening at the VA and what we've done in terms of progress and achievement. The veterans have poured out their sweat and blood and tears for this country for so long, and it's time that they're recognized, and it's time that we now take care of them and take care of them properly. That's why I'm pleased today to sign into law the Veterans Choice Program Improvement Act. So this is called the Choice Program Improvement Act. Speaks for itself. This bill will extend and improve the Veterans Choice Program so that more veterans can see the doctor of their choice. You got it? The doctor of their choice. And don't have to wait and travel long distances for VA care. Some people have to travel 5 hours, 8 hours, and they'll have to do it on a weekly basis, and even worse than that. It's not going to happen anymore. This new law is a good start, but there is still much work to do. We will fight each and every day to deliver the long-awaited reforms our veterans deserve and to protect those who have so courageously protected each and every one of us. So we've made a lot of strides for the veterans. These are like the most incredible people we have in our country as far as I'm concerned, and they have not been taken care of properly. I want to thank David. You've done an incredible job, and you're going to see some of that on Thursday. So thank you all very much, and we're going to sign this, and I think I'm going to have to give this pen, the way I look at it, we should probably give it to Phil. What do you think? Does everybody agree? I think Phil is. I agree with you. So congratulations, everybody. Really fantastic. Thank you very much. Phil, maybe you could say a few words if you'd like.
Well, Mr. President, thank you very much. And this was a very, very important bill to get started with so we can get Choice 2.0 to get to the place exactly where the President said he wanted to be. And it's a privilege to work with all of these great people up here to help make the VA better. I spent last week on the break going to Los Angeles and Phoenix to get a first-hand view of what's going on. And what we want to do is put the veteran in charge of these choices, not the bureaucracy. And I think Dr. Shulkin is just the first to see that happen. Mr. President, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And David, where's David?
Yeah, I'm right behind you, Mr. President.
Why don't you go ahead? I won't look back. You just talk.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody here as well and thank Congress for seeing this done and Mr. President for you signing this. This is a good day for veterans. This is a great day to celebrate not only what veterans have contributed to the country, but how we're making things better for them. And by working together, we're going to continue this progress. I think as the President said, we're actually going to do this a week from Thursday, Mr. President, and talk about the tremendous accomplishments, but most importantly, about the great things that are to come to fulfill the President's commitments that he made to veterans. And so thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. Great job. So again, next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock, may change a little bit, but about that time, we're going to have a conference to talk about the progress of the achievement. I'd like to ask Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, who's done a fantastic job as governor, by the way, and really understands this subject and really understands a lot of subjects. Rick, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Well, I was really proud. My father was in the 82nd Airborne. He did all the combat jumps, and I grew up listening to his the stories about the war. I had the opportunity to serve in the Navy. Unfortunately, in 2014, I
just want to jump in here, guys. If you are still with us, we have the White House press briefing coming up next with Sean Spicer. I have a shot of that already. We're going to wait till he comes up there to the podium to bring that to you, so that we can jump right into that. Actually, I'll give you a little shot right here. Flipping on over, you can see it in the lower right of your screen. It's coming up next with a shot of inside the press briefing room where Sean Spicer makes his addresses daily. You can see some reporters getting ready for this one a little bit earlier today, coming in at noon. We'll bring you over there right after this playback of President Trump.
Most importantly, thank you. Thank all of the great veterans. Would you like to say something of all of these people out there? We'll become a movie star tomorrow.
Well, our nation will be judged by how it treats its veterans, and the future of our country will rely on generations. Right now they're children, but they're going to be our future service members, and so we have to treat veterans well. It's about national security, it's about patriotism, and this is a great step forward to doing it.
Thank you very much. Nobody can say it better than that, so we're going to end. But I want to just thank you all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
All right, guys, jumping out of that and back over, you can see the White House getting ready for the press briefing. If you didn't catch it yesterday, I know we didn't air it on this show because President Trump flew out to Wisconsin yesterday afternoon, and went to speak to a company in Wisconsin about bringing back the jobs, bringing back business to Wisconsin, obviously a state that he won in the election. So if you haven't had enough Trump yet, we're going to bring you over to that event from yesterday in advance of the White House press briefing. Here's President Trump from yesterday. Take a listen.
New steps to follow through on my pledge to buy American and hire American. I can't think of a better place to make this announcement than right here at Snap-on. Just took a tour of the company. Good place, by the way. It's doing well, too. Standing among the workers who make the tools that will rebuild our nation. Your craftsmanship is incredible. It's a pleasure to see my good friend, Governor Scott Walker. He has been such a big help. He has been so incredible. Stand up, Scott. Governor Walker. As well as Senator Ron Johnson. We worked hard together. Thank you, Ron. And although he could not be here today, my thanks go to Speaker Ryan, who's represented this city for nearly 2 decades in Congress. And you know where he is? He's with NATO. And so he has a good excuse. And I said, Ron, make sure these countries start paying their bills a little bit more. You know, they're way, way behind, Ron. We have to do, I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron. But Paul, you're over with NATO, get them to pay their bills. I think that, and Ron, you have to work on that too. And Scott, in Wisconsin, you don't have to bother. We'll keep you right here. For a little while at least. Also with us is a famous local resident, the pride of Kenosha, Reince Priebus, my chief of staff. Where is Reince? Where is he? What a good man. There he is. In fact, we flew over his house on the way up, and he got all excited. He's taking pictures of us. Rice went to school right here, just about a mile away, where he took his wife Sally to the prom. And that was a match made in heaven. Very nice. I also want to thank Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin for being with us today. Secretary Mnuchin is working to put together a tax reform plan to make our industry more competitive and also to provide a level playing field for our workers. We don't have a level playing field, believe me. You're going to have one very soon. And our tax reform and tax plan is coming along very well. It's going to be out very soon. We're working on health care, and we're going to get that done too. Our Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, is also here. Where's Betsy? She's around here someplace. Stand up. Thank you, Betsy. Secretary DeVos is working to ensure that our workers are trained for the skilled technical jobs that will, in the future, power our country. I'm excited to be joined today by students from Gateway Technical College. And remember the college president, Brian Albrecht. Thank you. Great job. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Your partnership with Snap-on is a great example of why vocational education is the way of the future. When I was growing up in Queens, we had vocational schools. They were great. We don't have schools like that so much anymore, but we're bringing them back, vocational schools. These are very talented people that love that type of work, and it's great work. It really is great work. So vocational schools are going to be a big factor in the Trump administration. Together, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that more products are stamped with those wonderful words, made in the USA. The old days we used to use it. We don't use it so much anymore. We're going to start using it again. Made in the USA. For too long, we've watched as our factories have been closed and our jobs have been sent to other faraway lands. We've lost 70,000 factories since China joined the World Trade Organization. And you've seen that. You've heard about it. 70,000. The World Trade Organization, another one of our disasters. But this election, the American people voted to end the theft of American prosperity. They voted to bring back their jobs and to bring back their dreams into our country. That's why I'm here today. In just a few moments, I will be signing a Buy American and Hire American executive order. You haven't heard about that in a long time in this country. With this action, we are sending a powerful signal to the world. We're going to defend our workers, protect our jobs, and finally, put America first. I see all the Make America Great Again hats, so that's a good crowd. Those are good hats. Through the years, Snap-on tools have been at the center of our industrial life. Your tools have fixed the cars our families depend on.
All right, guys, looks like we are coming up on the White House press briefing is about to start. I'm going to bring you over there right now. Inside the White House, here is Sean Spicer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us a little earlier than normal today. I want to make sure that the pool has plenty of time to set up for this afternoon's major event. I'm excited to announce that next Monday, on April 24th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the President will speak via video conference with the commander of the International Space Station, Peggy Whitson, and her fellow astronaut, Jack Fisher. In 2008, Dr. Whitson became the first woman to command the International Space Station. And on Monday, she will break the record for the most time spent in space of any American astronaut. The President, joined by his daughter, Ivanka, and NASA astronaut Kate Rubin, will congratulate Dr. Whitson on this incredible accomplishment and discuss the importance of encouraging women to pursue careers in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. As you're all aware, in addition to signing the NASA Transition Authorization Act, the President also recently signed the Inspire Women Act, which ensures that NASA continues recruiting women for important STEM-related jobs in aerospace, an effort that's particularly important to this president. We're working closely with NASA and the Department of Education to make this conversation available to classrooms throughout the country. The Department of Education will also be providing tools for teachers to build lessons around this conversation between the president and these two outstanding Americans who are orbiting 220 miles above their heads. The call on NASA TV and stream on NASA's website and Facebook page. And while we're on the topic of upcoming events, I'd like to note that the president will welcome Palestinian President Abbas for a visit to Washington on May 3rd. They will use the visit to reaffirm the commitment of both the United States and Palestinian leadership to pursuing and ultimately concluding a conflict-ending settlement between the Palestinians and Israel. We'll have further guidance on that visit as we get closer to the date. In terms of additional announcements, the President will be giving the commencement address at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut on May 17th. And as we grow closer to that date, we will continue to provide updates. Moving along to current events, this morning the President signed an important piece of legislation for our nation's veterans. The Veterans Choice Program Extension and Improvement Act eliminates the original sunset date on the Veterans Choice Program, which gives veterans who are unable to schedule an appointment at a VA facility in a timely or convenient manner the ability to receive care from an eligible non-VA healthcare provider. Using funds that have already been appropriated for this program, this gives our nation's heroes the peace of mind they deserve while this administration works with Congress to enact comprehensive reform and modernization at the VA. The Vice President is continuing on his international tour today. On Tuesday, he spoke to 2,500 servicemen and women on the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan in Japan, thanking them for their service and discussing the President's plan to rebuild our military. He then met with and delivered remarks to Japanese business leader and stopped by a youth baseball clinic before leaving Japan. He is scheduled to land in Jakarta, Indonesia right about now. We'll have further updates on his travels the rest of the week. This week is also National Park Week, and Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke is currently in California meeting with rangers at 5 national parks. On Monday and Tuesday, he was at Channel Islands National Park, where he led a class of junior park rangers, and today he'll visit Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Since being sworn in on March 1st, Secretary Zinke has met with rangers at 9 national parks. He'll make that 10 when he visits Shenandoah National Park outside Charlottesville, Virginia next week. Every American has had the opportunity to participate in the celebration of our nation's parks. They're free of charge this Saturday and Sunday. Anyone who's interested in finding a local park or information can go to nps.gov. And finally, I know just moments ago, the President announced that he will be holding a press conference next Thursday to discuss the progress that's being made on behalf of our nation's veterans. We'll have further updates on the guidance for next week. With that, we're glad to take a few of your questions. John.
A couple of unrelated topics. First of all, Georgia's 6th Congressional District. The fact that John Ossoff voted 5 or 6 points more than most Republicans thought that he would have. And Lindsey Graham saying this is a wake-up call to the Republican Party that there's a lot of moderates that are beginning to emerge in the South to a greater degree that the Republican Party needs to pay attention to.
I don't imagine that the outcome of the runoff is in that much question, but does Senator Graham have something there that the Republican Party needs to pay attention to changing demographics, particularly in the South?
Well, I think you know that based on my former position, we talked about changing demographics throughout the country and made significant headway in doing that. And I think in large part, that's why we won. I mean, we had been talking about how the Republican Party had won at so many different levels of our country, but the presidency had eluded us. This president went and got 306 electoral votes, won 30 of 50 states, over 2,600 counties. I think we did pretty well in November, and continue to pick up seats around the country at different levels. So I feel very confident about the state of the party.
The fact that Assad came so close to 50%.
Yeah, I would. Well, I would just. Looking at the facts, there was one candidate on the Democratic side. They spent over $8 million on one that they backed. I mean, and I think when you look at the total Republican vote, it was over that. This is a district that was very close on the presidential level last cycle, and the Democrats went all in on this. They were clear going into this election. They said that their goal was to get over 50%. They came up short. I mean, so at the end, if you look at what his percentage of what it was presidentially, it pretty much tracks. I think this was a big loss for them. The bottom line is they went all in on it. They said that their goal was to get over 50%. They came up short.
Unrelated issue. Tillerson's letter to Paul Ryan on the JCPOA in Iran. Is the United States basically saying there's no evidence that Iran is cheating on the JCPOA?
No, I think what the letter says is that the president is directing an interagency review of the deal to review that, and we have 90 days before the next one comes up. We'll have more, but right now we're undergoing a 90-day review, and I think the statement that the Secretary of State made to Congress very clearly stated that the president is directing the National Security Council to lead an interagency review of the plan and evaluate whether suspension sanctions related to Iran pursuant to the JCPOA are in the vital interests of the national security of our national security. That's the letter clearly lays out what the president's going to do to make sure that they're living up to their agreement.
Is the president concerned that Iran may be cheating on the JCPOA?
Well, again,
David Albright, the noted UN weapons inspector, says they're developing a new centrifuge, which he thinks could be a violation.
Well, and I think that's why he's asking for this review. I think that if he thought everything was fine, he would have allowed this to move forward. I think he's doing the prudent thing by asking for a review of the current deal and what's happening.
Thanks, Sean. On the USS Carl Vinson, what happened? Can you take us through the events from the perspective of the White House that led to the miscommunication, this administration thinking that this vessel was thousands of miles away from its actual location?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Can you take us through the events that led people within this administration to believe the vessel was thousands of miles away from its actual location?
Well, I mean, PACOM put out a release talking about the group ultimately ending up in the Korean Peninsula. That's what it will do. I think we were asked very clearly about the use of a carrier group in terms of deterrence and foreign presence and what that meant. I think that's what we discussed. I would refer you back to any other issues with that to the Department of Defense.
Does the president believe that he might have spoken too quickly on this location of the vessel before it was actually arriving?
The president said that we have an armada going towards the peninsula. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening, rather. Yeah.
Sean, I just want to follow up on that. Obviously when the president of the United States says there's military hardware going to a region in the middle of a crisis on the Korean Peninsula, the allies of the United States are encouraged. When that happens to not be the case, they can interpret that as a false encouragement. So how is this White House explaining to South Korea and Japan that in fact during the buildup and the actual DPRK missile launch, there was no USS Carl Vinson?
No, but respectfully, Jessica, I would ask you to either touch base with PACOM or the Department of Defense. The statement that was put out was that the Carl Vinson group was headed to the Korean Peninsula. It is headed to the Korean Peninsula. It'll arrive there. What's that?
It's headed there now. It wasn't headed there
Sure,
last
no,
week.
but that's not what we ever said. We said that it was heading there, and it was heading there. It is heading there. So that remains.
The impression that allies had.
But if there's an impression, then that's not. Then there should have been clarification from people who were seeking it. But I mean, PACOM put out a release talking about what its ultimate destination was going to be. And that's where it ended up. Caitlin.
Well, why did the administration never clarify? Because it definitely, the intent in media reports was that it was headed there now, and now it's going to be there
But that
2 weeks
wasn't,
later.
with all due respect, that's not my, we were asked a question. I know, no, that's not true. What I was asked was what signal did it send that it was going there? And I answered that question correctly at the time, that it signaled foreign presence, strength, and a reassurance to our allies. That's a true statement. You're asking me why you didn't know better. I don't know. That's a question that should have been followed up with either PACOM or the Department of Defense. But the only question that we were asked was what signal it sends, and I think we answered that very correctly at the time.
I think it was a little misleading. No one found out about it until a picture was posted on a
What do you mean? What part is misleading? I'm trying to figure that out. We were asked a question about what signal it sent. We answered the question on what signal it sent. I'm not the one who commented on timing.
What's misleading is that people thought it was headed there now, and now it's going to be there weeks later. They thought it was already headed there.
But again, that's
an exercise.
I understand the question, right? But what I'm getting at is, it was announced that it was going. It will be there. We were asked simply a question on that. I think all other questions should be asked of the Department of Defense. John.
Thanks a lot, Sean. Earlier today, China's foreign ministry spokesman said that China is increasingly frustrated with North Korea. And North Korea, you may have seen it, put out a simulated video over the past 24 hours, which shows its missiles attacking, destroying an American city. What's the American White House reaction to that video and also to the comments by China's foreign ministry spokesperson?
Well, the first part, this isn't the first time that North Korea has put out propaganda tools, and I don't think we're going to comment on every time they put out a piece of propaganda. Second, I think it's encouraging to see China continue to move forward and join us in this effort to control North Korea. I've commented before, I think that the relationship that the president started building with President Xi down in Mar-a-Lago is clearly showing some positive signs. China continues to have both economic and political influence over China, and so I think it's important to see them heading in this direction. I think it's a very positive sign to see them play a larger and larger role. I think it is in everybody's interest to contain North Korea's actions. John Gizzi.
How strong is that influence? I'm sorry, John. How strong is that influence, though, if the foreign ministry spokesman for China, which the president is depending on for this particular incursion, is saying that he himself, that China itself, is frustrated, increasingly frustrated with the North Koreans?
Well, again, I think from an overall diplomatic sense, I think it's a positive to see China continue to take positive signs aligning with the position that we have on this. That's a positive thing. I think that time will tell, but I think seeing a unified effort to contain North Korea's threat is a positive step to protect not only our national security interests, but those in the region. Sorry, John Gizzi.
Thank you, Sean. A few weeks ago, I asked you about the president's upcoming visit to Rome and whether or not he would have an audience with this Pope. And I pointed out that this is something that's a part of modern history, going back to 1959, when President Eisenhower had an audience with Pope John the 23rd. You said it was something you'd definitely be in favor of. A few days ago, the Financial Times reported that sources within the administration said this was very unlikely to happen, and that for the first time since nearly 60 years ago, the president would not have an audience with the Pope.
Yeah.
Why?
So right now at this time, obviously we headed to both Brussels and Sicily. If we have updates on the schedule, and we're still plenty far away, I'm sure that we will let you know about any additional stops. But
are you in touch with the Holy See about?
I appreciate the effort, but I think until we have an update, I'm not going to go there. Francesca.
Thank you, Sean. Back on Iran and the State Department's letter to Congress, there's been some talk about stricter sanctions on Iran for the ballistic missiles test that it's been conducting and state finance of terror. Are you concerned that tougher sanctions on Iran would motivate it to violate the nuclear deal?
Well, I obviously any action that we would take if we did is something that gets vetted through the interagency process, and all of those kind of considerations are taken in terms of trying to achieve the effect that we want. So sanctions have been an effective tool in many cases, and I think that, as we've mentioned, a lot of times the president doesn't telegraph what action he's going to take, but as we conduct review of options available in this situation, we'll go through the interagency process and have different entities weigh in.
Sure, but in consideration of those potential
Right,
sanctions,
obviously, but we're well aware of any potential negative impacts that an action could have. And so regardless of whether it's an economic, a political, or military action, you always weigh all those kind of options. George?
Sorry, one small follow-up on that. The president has said, though, that he would like to see the nuclear deal renegotiated with Iran. How specifically does he plan to get a new deal? Is that something that he still wants to do?
Well, again, that's why we're undergoing this interagency review. Part of this is to get the entire team to look at it as part of the next 90 days review that is required under the deal. So we will have recommendations that will be presented to the president on where the deal stands and how to act further. George.
Thanks, Ron. Looking ahead to the 100-day mark and setting aside executive orders, can you say what the single piece of legislation that you are proudest that you got through Congress that was on the president's agenda?
Well, a few things on that. Number one, we're not done. We've got a little ways before we hit the 100-day mark. So I think what you've seen out of this White House is a very robust agenda of activity. There's a lot of executive orders that I think the president's been pleased with, not only what they've done or what they will do, but what they've done. I think when you look at immigration in particular, we see a very significant drop at the border. I think on jobs, there's been a lot of activity that we've been very proud to see American manufacturing and job creation. But then there's pieces like what we did today that I think if you're a veteran who served our country, to know that you have additional options to get health care in a timely manner, or not just but a geographically friendly manner, so you're not driving hours, is very helpful and a strong symbol of how we treat our veterans. There's a lot of things that I think the president's done on veterans, on immigration, on regulatory reform. As I mentioned here, we're now at a dozen Congressional Review Act pieces of legislation that have been signed that have had, I think, a very positive impact and will have a very positive impact on job creation. And I've noted before to you that only one had ever been signed in history before. That's a pretty significant achievement for this president. And obviously, when you look at the confirmation of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, it's another significant one. But there's a lot, and again, we'll obviously spend some time talking about this next week. But I think we're very pleased with what the president's accomplished, and as he noted yesterday in Wisconsin, the amount that he's done overall has been significant. Zeke.
Thanks, Sean. Two separate topics. First, on the potential for a government shutdown next week in the CR, is the president, the budget supplemental the White House requested about a month or so ago included boosts to defense spending cut and other discretionary spending, non-defense, include funding for the wall. What is the president going to insist that the CR that will be necessary to keep the government open after next weekend will include all of those priorities, or would he accept a sort of a flat CR that would just continue the status quo?
Well, obviously, yeah, we're having those discussions have been ongoing with House and Senate leaders as we approach this deadline. But as you correctly point out, I mean, the president's priorities are very well known, what he wants to do in terms of both military and homeland security. Yeah, but I think that to start negotiating in public would probably not be a very prudent thing to do as we get closer to that deadline. So I respectfully, we're days away. You'll have plenty of time to see what's in there. Richard, I'm sorry.
Question, another topic. Sorry. Late last night, the Presidential Inaugural Committee released its list of donors, and at the end of the filing period, it included, raised record amounts of money, obviously, included lots of money from corporate donors, many of them who had business before the administration. As the president who ran on the Drain the Swamp slogan, concerned about the perception, certainly, but also any or the potential for any real conflict of interest between some of those donations coming into supporting his inauguration.
No, I mean I think that this is just like a campaign in the sense that you have there's full there's disclosure on this for a reason so that you know what's happening. I think funding the inaugural committee has pretty much been a nonpartisan activity that is going back every administration, going back through administrations. So this is a time-honored tradition. I think a lot of Americans and companies and entities are proud to support the inaugural, and I think that you've seen that over time. The people who have been there are a lot of people who really take pride in helping us show the world a peaceful transformation of power. Richard.
Thank you, Sean. I just want to go back to Wisconsin yesterday.
You want to go back, huh?
It's nice. It's the president said about the issue with the local dairy producers, dairy farmers, that the White House was going to work on that very hard immediately. Actually, starting today, that's what he said. Calling Canada and asking for solution. Has the White House been in contact with anybody in Canada, in Ottawa?
I'll have an update for you, hopefully at some point on that. But I'm well aware of the president's comments on that. I think it's a very important issue for people in Wisconsin, and the president looks forward to following up on that.
He's going to go fast on this point.
I think all I will say is that the president is going to make sure that we follow up on that. David Jackson. Oh, I'm sorry.
Quickly, he said that on NAFTA he wants very big changes, or we're going to get rid of it once and for all. Are we at that point, like very big changes?
Well, I think we'll see what pans out in the negotiation, but I think there's an opportunity. Can I just? I think I got this, but thank you. Maybe. All right, thanks, man. I'll see you in a minute. Hold on one second. All right, that was cool. Real quick, how do you follow that? Just to John Gizzi's point, I just want to make sure I note that we will be reaching out to the Vatican to see if a meeting, an audience with the Pope can be accommodated. We'll have further details on that. Obviously, we'd be honored to have an audience with His Holiness. David, I'm sorry, I called on David first.
Thanks, Sean. What's the White House's reaction to the deportation of Juan Montez? He's a dreamer from California,
Right.
apparently the first one to get sent back.
I think there's that situation is evolving right now. There's a lot of things that are being looked at in terms of the circumstances surrounding that, and I'd ask you to stay in contact with the Department of Homeland Security.
Did President Trump say he didn't want the...
I think that I don't want to comment right now in the sense that there are some circumstances regarding that I think that need to come out or be further looked into, and I think getting ahead of that could be an issue. So I just respectfully, I would say that I don't want to rush to judgment. I think there's a lot of additional details that are coming out about that issue, and I think the Department of Homeland Security is probably the best place to get updates. Okay, Hallie.
Two topics, and one of those is a follow-up, but I want to ask about Georgia 6 here.
You can ask Ron.
Two quick ones on that. Is the president planning to campaign for the Republican challenger there? Will he go to Georgia to get out the vote?
I don't know. If needed, I think the president's going to make sure that he does everything he can to maintain majorities and further the party, but we'll see if we're needed.
Is he expending too much political capital on a race the Republicans should be winning easily?
Well, it's interesting. I thought that some of the coverage was a little intriguing as I watched it. Suddenly, that the Democrats went all in on this race. They spent over $8.3 million. They said on the record that their goal was to win this race. They lost. And the reaction has somewhat been, that they almost won. No, they lost. They made very clear what their goal was in this race. They spent $8.3 million and threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at it and lost. And so,
2 months left, though, right?
No, not in terms of what their stated goal was. They said that their goal last night was to win the race with over 50%. They spent $8.3 million. They didn't run for a runoff. They ran to win last night, and they lost. And so anything short of describing that as a loss is sort of inconceivable to me, in the sense that that's literally what they said their goal was to do. And they said, we want to win Tuesday night with over 50%. They came up short of their goal. They put all the money that they had in there. They put all their firepower, and they came up short. So it's a loss. And there's no other pick. Mara.
Can you just follow up on David, I just have that second topic for you on deportations, and I'm not speaking specifically about this case because I understand that you're referring over to DHS, but there seems to be a little confusion, so if you can clarify, what is this president's position on undocumented immigrants living in this country who have not committed serious crimes?
I think the president's priorities on immigration have been very clearly laid out. First and foremost, he wants to make sure that people who have committed a crime or pose a threat to public safety are dealt with first and foremost, and that we would continue to address immigration going forward. That's
so what is the,
I
guess my question is those who have not posed a threat.
Right, and I think that,
that
as I said, I mean, the goal and the focus has been on people who pose a threat to national security or in some other way in violation.
I understand. Not posed a threat. So
But that's again, and
I
would respectfully suggest that in this particular case, the facts are not completely out yet. So I'd rather not jump to judgment on what's happening.
There's also a case in Ohio.
I understand. You are, Mara.
Thank you. I just want to get a little more clarity on Iran.
Mhm.
Is it the president determined to pull out of this agreement as he promised during the campaign, or will that decision be determined by this review?
I think part of the review, the interagency process, is to determine where Iran is in compliance with the deal and to make recommendations to the president on the path forward.
So he might or might not decide to pull out.
I think that's why you undertake
This decision has yet to be made.
That's why he's doing a review.
Because that was a campaign promise.
Right, and I understand it. And that the point that I'm making is that he asked the interagency team to conduct a review, as the secretary laid out in the letter last night. Anita.
Sean, two questions on one issue. My colleague who's currently in Colombia has learned that the president met with two former presidents of Colombia last weekend in Mar-a-Lago, and I think it was set up by Senator Rubio's office. And so I had two questions. One, well, first, some people there are saying that it's to undermine the current president's visit next month before he comes here next month. So two questions. One, why was that not released publicly to the press, to the pool at the time? And secondly, can you talk a little bit about the point of that visit and do you all stand by the Colombian peace?
Yeah, I'll be glad to look into the circumstances. I don't have anything for you at this time, so I will get that something and then read it out.
Saying that didn't happen?
No, I'm just saying I'm unaware of the circumstance.
So can you get back to me on the policy
I
issue?
can.
But why not release that if that's the case?
Because again, I don't know that it's the case, and so until I know, I think it would be tough to answer the second question. Thank you guys very much. We'll have an event for you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one.
Can I do a Patriots question?
So some journalists butting in there to ask a Patriots question, and Sean Spicer did not oblige. There he goes. He did open up the briefing today talking about the special event on the South White House lawn. That's the New England Patriots. They're coming down to celebrate and to meet President Trump. We already know quarterback Tom Brady will not be there. We are going to leave this feed and bring you over to Air Force 2. This is Indonesia. This is where Vice President Pence is now arriving. You can see it's the middle of the night here. This is the Vice President's first trip to Indonesia. He is there in Jakarta visiting the largest mosque in Indonesia. That's there in Jakarta. And meeting with some other leaders to talk about interfaith dialogue and religious leaders and whatnot. So you're getting a live picture here in Indonesia. Vice President Pence landing there for his first time. That's a shot of Air Force 2. We'll see if we get a little shot of him before we take you somewhere else. All right, guys, we're going to see if Vice President Pence, if we can get a shot of him coming out. But I'm also going to bring you to an event earlier of the former Vice President. Joe Biden, always making some funny remarks. Today he was there at the opening ceremony in Philadelphia for the brand new Museum of the American Revolution. Had its grand opening ceremony today, a dedication, a whole string of events, and he was able to headline and speak and to be on hand at that grand opening. But you are looking at right now a live shot picture of, if you are just joining us, Vice President Pence arriving in Indonesia for the first time. He's going to be attending a mosque or visiting a mosque in Jakarta, the largest one in the country of Indonesia. And also meeting, there he is, with interfaith leaders, religious leaders there in Indonesia. Waving to the crowd, looks like it's the middle of the night. And definitely is, about 12 hours difference there. So here we are, Vice President Pence arriving in Indonesia for the first time. He'll be meeting with the president of Indonesia and as well as with other interfaith religious leaders there and visiting a mosque. And we're going to switch it over now to another event from earlier this morning with former Vice President Joe Biden. We'll bring you out of this shot and over now to Philadelphia. Let's go here, where earlier Vice President Biden spoke at the opening of the Museum of the American Revolution. So brand new. I have a good friend in Philly who told me he's been running by the museum, has seen the progress from the outside. And this morning there was a special ceremony. It's at 3rd and Chestnut Streets, if you're familiar with Old City in Philadelphia. Let's give this a go. This is from our sister station in Philadelphia. Fox 29 had this footage earlier.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. It is, those of us who've served in public office for some time are accustomed to say it's an honor to be here, but this is truly an honor to be invited to participate today and to follow such distinguished speakers. And I mean that sincerely. Thank you. Governor, it's a pleasure to see you again. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for the passport into Philadelphia. And to all the distinguished guests. I was contemplating when I was flattered to be asked to quote keynote, and it will not be a long keynote. I was contemplating what I should talk about. And I thought about what I think is a fundamental question. What is this museum intended to stand for? Is it were our founders who lived the revolution, who gave their lives for the revolution? What were they attempting to do? What did they stand for? I think it's important that we answer that question because it's as relevant today as it was then. To paraphrase Emerson's poem, what did the people hear when they heard that shot heard round the world? What was it that they heard? What was this experiment about? Was it just about independence? A revolution for independence? I think it was about an idea. How to give life to a Renaissance idea that a country could actually be governed by its people, all of its people, its wealthy people, its poor people, its people who could read, who couldn't read, educated, uneducated. The revolutionary notion of the consent of the governed. It seems to me that's ultimately why they say America was an idea. The idea that people could govern themselves. Not a monarchy, not a governmental system that conferred power on the elite or the military or only the educated. An idea that ordinary people could do extraordinary things given half a chance. It truly was a revolutionary idea. An idea that both startled and at the same time gave hope to the rest of the world. It's an American idea that I still think gives hope to the rest of the world. I have traveled to almost every country in the world. In the last 40 years, I've met every major world leader without exception. Why do they look at us the way they do? Why are we still the most respected nation in the world? With all our faults and all the mistakes we've made. Our principles, our founders, it seems to me, they asserted, which have been referenced already, again, what was a revolutionary idea, including the French Revolution. We hold these truths self-evident. We hold these truths self-evident. There was nothing self-evident about that assertion when it was made. It's etched on the wall. All men are created equal, endowed by their creators. We initially asserted that our rights do not come from a government. They come from the mere fact we're children of God. We exist. Therefore, we have these rights. We need not ask anyone for any of the rights we possess. This new republic, went on to assert, would not be defined by a single race or religion, but by those inalienable rights that to our founders were self-evident and they thought self-executing. But it took 13 years to give those asserted rights, 13 years to put these ideas into a document of governance, the Constitution that made our institutions the guarantor, not the deliverer of, but the guarantor of these inalienable rights. It was the vehicle that we constructed here in this city that would enshrine the principles we said we believed in. And unlike any other nation in the world, and that is no hyperbole in that statement, unlike any other nation in the world, the United States is uniquely a product of our political institutions. You cannot define an American by race, religion, ethnicity. You can only define an American by an intuitive commitment to the notion that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator, and guaranteed by that Constitution. Our Constitution and our adherence to its principles are the reason why we remain the most respected, emulated, revered nation in the world, notwithstanding what you hear today from some others. We lead I was criticized, most times totally justifiable criticism, about 12 years ago when I said in a major speech that we lead the world not by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That is not hyperbole. We lead the world by the power of our example. There's nothing guaranteed about our democracy, though. Nothing guaranteed about self-governance. There's no guarantee that we'll remain the greatest example of freedom and liberty and equality in the history of the world. No guarantee at all. We have to remind ourselves why we've been able to accomplish so much. How did we earn that respect? And how can we maintain it? Just as the generation of revolutionaries before us did. Just like every generation that's followed and will follow. But if you excuse a contemporary comment, the only way this nation can be governed with the consent of the people is we arrive at a consensus. It requires a consensus. It requires compromise. It requires reaching out. It requires sometimes overlooking. Someone once said the truly wise parent, I would argue wise government, knows what to overlook as well as to what to look at. But politics today is pulling us apart at the seams. It's gotten worse. Our politics has become too negative, too nasty, too petty, too personal. Partisans are not looked at as opponents, but as enemies. We no longer just question the judgment of our opponents. We spend more time questioning their motive. A very presumptuous thing to do. Koki's heard me say I learned a lesson early on as a young senator. I did not want to go to the Senate because of an accident that occurred after I was elected. And a man named Mike Mansfield, a man who had more integrity in his little finger than most people have in their whole body, came to me and said, "You owe it to your deceased wife and your child to be sworn in." Only 1,700 and I think he said 12 had ever been sworn in. come stay 6 months. So the day I was supposed to be sworn in as Mike Castle, remember, I didn't show up. I stayed in the hospital. I changed my mind. So he sent the Secretary of the Senate to the hospital to swear me in. And when I went down, I got an assignment. I thought every freshman senator got an assignment. Once a week, I'd show up in the Majority Leader's office to report on the assignment I was given. It took me about 3 months to figure out all he was doing, God love him, as my mother would say, was taking my pulse to see how I was doing. One day, in the end of May, following the tradition I had, which was to walk through those doors, double doors, down in the well of the Senate, to check when the last vote would be so I know which Amtrak train I could take to get home to see my sons. And Jesse Helms from North Carolina was excoriating a friend of mine to this day, Bob Dole, and one of my mentors, Teddy Kennedy, for the precursor for the Americans with Disabilities Act. He was talking about it's not government's obligation to care or deal with the handicapped, etc. So I walked in and sat down for my meeting. And I guess I looked angry, and he said, "What's the matter, Joe?" He spoke in clipped tones. And I said, "That's Jesse Helms." And I went on to basically say he had no social redeeming value. I didn't understand how he could do what he was doing. He looked at me and he said, "Joe, what would you tell me if I told you that Dot and Jesse Helms 3 years ago were reading the Raleigh Observer in their hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina? There was an advertisement for a young man in steel braces up to his hips with steel crutches saying, 'All I want for Christmas is someone to love me.' What would you say if I told you they went and adopted that child?" I'd say I'd feel foolish. He said, "Well, they did, Joe." He said, "I learned a long time ago. Everyone's been sent here was sent because their state found something good about them. It's your job to look for that. It's always appropriate to question a man or woman's judgment, but never their motive, because you don't know it." Well, ladies and gentlemen, all we do today, it seems, is question motive. We need to focus on the things that unite us. Focus on what our founders understood, that there is nothing beyond our capability, beyond our capacity. Nothing. Focus on the motto that was referenced by a previous speaker, E pluribus unum, out of one many. That's who the hell we are. We're so different. We're so different, but so similar in our aspirations. We have the crucible, the Constitution, in which to make those aspirations sing. History has demonstrated when we act as one America, we always do well, no matter who's in charge. Rich, poor, middle class, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, transgender. Those who've been here generations and those who've only come recently. One America. Even when it's not easy, which most of the time it's not. Even when there's setbacks with xenophobic attitudes, we have always eventually stepped forward. We've always overcome. But as Martin O'Malley, who I consider a great friend, who was an incredible governor, he heard me say this before when he asked me to speak at Fort McHenry's 200th anniversary. I think we're the only country in the world with an anthem, a national anthem that ends with a question. I don't think there's any other. I may be mistaken, but I don't think there's any other anthem in the world that ends with a question. Does that star-spangled banner yet wave? That question and its implicit aspiration has echoed through every single perilous moment in America and has helped us endure over the past 2 centuries. Was it still waving in the mist 200 years ago at Fort McHenry? Was it waving 50 years later as the dawn's early light broke over a nation ripped apart by a civil war? Was it waving on the beaches of Normandy, in the mountains of Korea, in the jungles of Vietnam, the streets of Fallujah, in the Kunar Valley in Afghanistan? Was it still waving? Was it waving over America when an American stood on the moon? Our first responders at Ground Zero? Was it waving when a weary president at Gettysburg or a preacher with a dream at the Lincoln Memorial? Does it wave over every embassy, every forward position, every ship, every man, every woman in the service of America? Every firehouse, ballpark, town, and city in this great nation, and the front porches of my house and many of yours, waiting for their return. To state the obvious, thus far the resounding answer is yes. And it will now and forever wave, but only if we hold on to it. Because it's not the flag that we're waving, it's what lives within us. Is it in our heart? Do we really understand and mean what this museum is about to celebrate? In the heart of every American is the very idea of America. They don't even know it to articulate it that way. Ask the average person when you leave here, go to lunch at a street corner, why do you have the right to do A, B, C, or D? They'll tell you because the Constitution says I do. You may have never even ever read the Constitution. Folks, this is an important, not monument, but reminder that we got to fight every damn day to remind ourselves how we got to where we are. And don't ever think that there's ever anything self-executing about democracy. We live in this museum, in every movement of every child who's going to walk through this door, in the hand with a parent, and believes that he or she can do anything. Why? Because we're American. Why? Because we hold these truths self-evident. Why? Because it's all about the consent of the governed. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us special. And that's why it's such an incredible honor to be able to stand here at the opening of this museum before so many of my fellow Americans. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, guys, so jumping back in here, that's former Vice President Joe Biden. They're in Philadelphia this morning for the opening ceremony, the opening celebration for this new museum. Now, this date actually also marks the 242nd anniversary of the shot heard around the world, which you heard Biden reference earlier. I'm going to bring down the sound a little bit. And always, whether or not you're,
General Jumper,
hang on one second.
and Jerry Lenfest and Marguerite Lenfest for the ribbon cutting to open the
Whether or
doors
not
to
you are
the
a Biden
American
fan,
people,
you have to admit he gives a great speech. Always tugging at the heartstrings, of course, an emotional speech, bringing up his past, his own question to get back into politics in the early 70s when his wife and daughter were in that terrible accident and passed away. So he did reference some of his own personal experience. And you're still watching sort of the remnant, the celebration, the ceremony here in Old City, Philadelphia, in that historic area of Philadelphia. Now, Biden, we're going to restart that. Biden is not going to be a stranger to Philadelphia. He's actually going to be at UPenn, so University of Pennsylvania, heading up a program, sort of a institute of sorts about foreign policy and national security. He'll have an office there. He won't be teaching classes, but it'll be sort of based in Washington, and then he'll be up there at times. So definitely a connection to Old City of Philadelphia. All right, guys, with that, we are going to round out the show just a little bit. I'm Molly Nevola here in the newsroom for Fox 5 Live. You can get at us and tweet at us. Of course, follow us on social, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Fox 5 DC, and that's my handle as well down at the bottom of your screen. We're going to come back on the air for the Patriots celebration. I do have to say one thing. I regret I did not inform you guys. I didn't make any comment about how Rob Gronkowski, the Gronk, interrupted Sean Spicer just earlier at the White House press briefing. That was pretty funny, I thought, and worth noting, but I was looking away and looking up something on the screen, so I actually didn't notice it was him, but I would have made a little joke about that, so we're definitely taking that clip for later. But I think football transcends politics sometimes, so we're going to see the Patriots later on the south lawn of the White House with President Trump, and that's coming up later at 2:30. So with that, we'll round out our show for this morning. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you back here soon, and of course, midday during the weekdays right here on the YouTube stream. So thanks for watching.